All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well during these crazy and pandemic times in the world right now. It's Aiden from Brink Events, as always. Very excited to be here on the 6th edition of Focal Points. Focal Points is the interview series where we interview top event designers and event professionals from around the world to see what makes them tick. And I'm very happy to have Dustin Westling here from OneWest Events in Calgary. Dustin, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm coming to you live from my new home office.
Nice.
That I didn't need a few weeks ago, but I've made it my own.
Crazy times we have these days, so we're all doing what we can. So, I've had the pleasure to meet you and have great chats with you at conferences over the years, from TSC to the ILEA Live stuff, and I'm really excited to have a further conversation with you here to really get inside your mind, for better or worse. I've heard you speak before about creativity and whatnot, but I'm looking forward to this. So maybe first off, just tell people a little bit about how you got into events or how you started the company and why you're here today.
For sure. So my start in events was as a teenager. I worked for the Calgary Stampede. And from that, I stayed in hospitality, public attractions, convention centers. I've never really done anything else but that. I've always had a big fascination with production and the way things work and the way they come together and human experience. So coming from the world of hospitality, this was a really easy transition for me to get into what I'm doing now. We've got a design and production company in Calgary. We also have an office in Vancouver, and we do a tremendous amount of work in Edmonton as well. So a love of hospitality, a love for live connection, creating experiences is just what I love to do.
It's what you love to do. So yeah, and I we're the same. We're not we don't actually own anything ourselves. We're planners and designers, but we love creating that experience like you do too, and working with decor and design companies like you guys to make those experiences happen. So now obviously this is like I say, a crazy unprecedented time in the world with the COVID-19 situation. So not going to harp on this much. It's not the most happy topic, but I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on it. So maybe just let everybody know a little bit about how you guys are handling it, or anything you want to share with people on how they should be handling it, or whatever sort of thoughts around this whole situation you have.
For sure. So my team and I kicked into a business continuity plan quite quickly. It's interesting, kind of weeks before this hit, I could definitely feel some uncertainty, and I did not in a million years think it was going to hit the way that it did and as fast as it did. Even with those initial thoughts, I still felt very blindsided by how quickly everything came to an end. So we, as a business owner and as an employer, the most important thing to me was making sure that our employees were set up for what we first believed was the short term, and now looking at what does that look like over the long term. So getting our employees onto the right programs, making sure that they are still getting the income they need to survive. We're still operating. We still have a full team to take care of all of our clients that have third and fourth quarter events. There's still a lot of uncertainty as to when we get to go again. There's been a lot of talk of the summer. I am personally erring on the side of caution with when we go back to work. So I think right now our days are filled with checking in with our team, making sure that everybody is being taken care of to the best of our ability. Obviously, from a financial standpoint, ensuring that we've got the proper cash reserves to go the long stretch. And then outside of that, I've been spending a lot of time with our community organizations, our membership organizations, supplying support to anybody in the community that needs information and webinars and connections through this time. So being able to put forth that time on a volunteer basis has actually been incredibly therapeutic and has kept me busy and has positive results in the end. So it's not just phone calls of cancellations and postponements every day, I've managed to find a great group to work with to hopefully put some positive out there in the world.
Mm-hmm. So kind of related to this whole COVID situation, but this might just be a regular thing for you or your team. How are you staying creative? How do you get inspired? Like, are there exercises you do? Do you watch movies? Do you listen to music? Do you go for walks in the park? Like, especially during this time right now, it's doom and gloom and negativity, but I think there's an important piece to stay inspired and to have new ideas and all that to come out of this, hopefully with a little bit of energy at least. So how do you do that personally, and how do you do that with your team?
Of course. So right now, our team is, we meet on a video call every day. We have a standing meeting, and that is our time to not the team on that call. We don't specifically talk about what's going on with COVID. We're actually talking about what work needs to be done in the business. We always take time to share with each other the things that we've discovered. Everyone on my team is a unique human being and has different interests, so they follow different things. And we have a couple tools that we use internally. We have a private Facebook group that we share inspiration that we find, and it allows everybody to get into each other's minds and see what they're experiencing. So everything from a storefront display that's really cool, you snap a photo, you throw it into the group. A lot of people use different channels like Slack and other things. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I'm on the internet a lot, and I'm constantly looking to see how other people are inspired. I'm constantly looking to see what's coming out of more of the up and coming grassroots movements when it comes to design. This is going to sound a bit crazy, but I get so much inspiration from TikTok these days. There is a freedom of expression that's happening on there that I have not seen on a social platform in so long. And I really have been getting a lot of inspiration for connectivity and how to create a movement with people. For those of you that are not on TikTok, yes, it is very young. Everything everybody's told about you is true. But what's also true about it is that it is young creators that are taking a very simple tool and turning it into these viral mini videos, mm-hmm. and doing it in a way that appears to be quite effortless. Like I said, there's a freedom of expression and creativity that's running through that app that you can't find anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So definitely not my go-to, but I will tell you that we're working on some stuff in Q3 and Q4 and some activations that were inspired 100% from creators on TikTok. Wow. So always looking for new avenues of inspiration. I love the arts. I love film. All those usual mm-hmm. things, and every day thinking about what else can I add to keep inspired. No,
there's something visceral and very real about the TikTok and the human. I mean, it's. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really know too much about it, but they're not produced videos. They're not edited and cut. They're just selfie videos on a smartphone or something. So it's very real. It's not this thing that's made in a studio and it's cut and there's sound and light editing and all that. It's about as real as it can get. And you're seeing people in the flesh doing what they love doing. And I think that's why people gravitate towards it. It's real. It's not fabricated content that's been thought about for months in advance. It's made on the spot in front of you, right?
The app itself does have some tools within it that allows you to overlay some music and start and stop videos. But what's great about it, and what makes it really inspiring for those that are in our profession, is that mm-hmm. the tools are not complicated. So when you're looking at how they're creating this content, you're not looking at it being like, okay, that's a $100,000 production gig to make that happen. Mm-hmm. A lot of these tools are so simple, and these young people, majority of young people that are on it, they've figured out how to get the most out of the most basic tools, and that's what's really inspiring about it.
Creativity, yeah. So,
Um,
random question here: any movies you've seen recently, or musicians or songs that are kind of inspiring you, or that you're gravitating towards, or any that you just continue to listen to from the past, or movies that you continue to watch that are, just have had an effect and long-term piece for you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I'm caught up in I think the nostalgia that is coming out of arts and culture right now.
Yeah,
It's interesting to see that things that are nostalgic are things from my youth now, which tells you that
yeah.
the years are ticking by.
Hey man,
Uh,
I'm about the same age as you, so we're not far off here. So I can feel you. You got a lot of
yeah,
grays coming in here.
I know. It's all right. I've had to start cutting my own hair, so we're going to see how
Oh,
this quarantine thing goes.
oh, it's going to be a mess when we all emerge from our bunkers for the hairdressers and the salons these days. So
Yeah, it sure is. So no, I'm really appreciating this sort of nostalgia movement. I think as a creator, I'm starting to wonder if there's ever going to be a new idea when it comes to movies and music.
yeah. Yeah, everything just seems to be taking an old concept and spinning it slightly different, and then taking another one. Because a lot of the new movies, I find at least, and some of the ones I actually like, are the Netflix ones that are kind of, they've got a weird spin on it, or they give you a different way of looking at the world, or there's a very twist at the very end, or something, along those lines. And I think that the same can be said for events and storytelling, having reveals and having
Yeah.
different phases in an event where certain things happen. Maybe it's with entertainment or the food and beverage, or physical reveals with, curtain drops or whatever it might be. There's, I've actually drawn quite a bit of inspiration from certain movies that have that element of intrigue and storytelling, and you don't know what's going to happen next, and there's a plot twist here. So, a lot of, for me, and I don't know if this is the same for you, but a lot of 90s stuff. A lot of the Tarantino stuff, and David Fincher, he's another director that I've been following over the years. So some of that weird, quirky, off-the-cuff stuff, I think, is most interesting for me. So
Yeah, I think the things that to get me hooked on a book or on a TV series is when I think I know what's going to happen and I'm so sure I know what's going to happen and something else happens. That is like, if you can get me to that space, because I almost always can tell what's going to happen, and if you can surprise me, that is when I'm hooked.
We've
That's
got your
when it's got
attention.
my attention.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to live experience and events, like that's almost where we're getting to the point where it's like we can't allow these things to be predictable, but we also want to take people on a journey so they think they understand what's going to happen, and then we get those opportunities.
You just smack them in the face with something else. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I get inspiration from other people's events on that. I've been at events, as I'm sure you have, where you're like, okay, I see where this is going, and then bam, they throw something in there, and you're like, holy cow, where did that come from? But it gives you ideas and inspiration. You might not steal that idea specifically, but you'll take that inspiration. Like at 11 o'clock, they brought out this kind of food or beverage, or the entertainment changed, or there was another room that we didn't even know about. And it's just, it adds to the storylines. And, that's kind of what we can pull inspiration from, I think.
Yeah, totally. I've really been talking to my clients a lot about the, maintaining energy after dinner and continuing to surprise and delight once the program is over. I do find that sometimes we get caught in a little bit of a routine that doesn't allow us to continue to tell a story, continue to offer surprises, and keep people engaged right until the end. And I'm a big fan of your last impression is just as important as your first impression, and that last thing that they experience should be just as important as the emphasis we put on the arrival.
Yeah, two things there. Number one, I think people kind of expect that. You have the dinner, and then there's the bar's open till the end, there's dancing going on, and that's kind of the expectation. If you could throw some weird stuff in there and mix it up, I don't think people are going to be expecting that. And the other thing that you said that I think is interesting, and I've always thought, is putting a microphone in the parking lot after the event and just hearing what people are saying outside. Like you say, you want to have a good first impression, but you want to have a great last impression as well. If they have to wait 20 minutes to get their coat, because the coat check is understaffed, or they leave and it's too dark, they can't even see their way out to their car, or something like that. You got to think the whole process through from start to finish. But I'm always curious to hear what people are saying in the parking lot. I'd like to think a lot of it is good from our events, but I'm sure there's an odd bit that let's call it a learning moment or something that we can pull from that. So
yeah, I do make a point to ask the coat check attendants, the valet. I make a point as I'm wrapping up an event or my team to ask them, hey, any feedback? Anybody have anything to say on the way out the door? Because that usually is when it's like, when you walk out of an event, whoever you're with, you're like, oh, that was amazing, or can you believe that, or I hated that, or that band was awful. Yeah,
well, and they probably feel more comfortable talking to security or coat check because they don't think that's going to be probably passed on. They're just kind of saying, oh, how was the event for you on the way out? So, but if they can pass that along to you, that's probably pretty candid feedback, because I don't think they're going to hold back. Whereas if you have somebody there with a clipboard or yourself standing there, they're going to be more probably trying to give a better impression than it might have been. So. So maybe just tell me, this industry is definitely not for everybody. It can be great, but it can be also very stressful and very hard and long hours. And, it kind of gets glamorized a little bit more than we'd like. But what's your favorite part of the industry? I know there's lots of things around creating moments or this and that, but if you had to narrow it down to like, why are you doing what you do? Like, what's the one thing that you just love about this industry the most?
I think the thing that I love about this industry the most is the unbelievable barrel of monkeys that we all get to work with. This sort of like, we get to work with such incredible creative people that are also amazing entrepreneurs, that are also so community minded. Every day is a new adventure, and you never find one pro that is alike. And I think that, not to talk about my finance and accounting friends, they all basically learn the same thing and they have the same practice, right? They're all individuals. They're all unique in their own ways. But the job they do is so similar. Where in our world, you constantly get to learn from somebody else. There's not a single soul in our industry that isn't a creator in their own way that you can learn from. And I can't think of a lot of industries that have the type of people that we do. As an industry, I find that we are, empathy is a big part of what we do, and we have to know and understand that in order to be successful. I think that we're very kind and generous people by nature. I think that we care about our people and our people care about us. So there's a lot of that you don't see in a lot of industries. So that's probably answering your question 3 times over, but
no, I mean, I completely agree with you. And I think what's interesting is I think we're more on the artistic side than we are on the sort of regular commoditized business side, because you can't even really put a price tag on what we do from a commodity level. Like, what we can charge potentially is whatever somebody's willing to pay. Whereas if you're in industries like finance or insurance or accounting, you're usually kind of capped, or you're even in a regulated system. So even from that perspective, it's interesting. But one quote I heard that I always find quite interesting too is accounting is one of the industries you don't want to be creative in. Right? Because as soon as
unless you're my accountant, then you feel free to do whatever you want.
Okay, well, we'll edit this part out of the video so that it's not on the record. But we're talking about areas like mortgages and insurance and finance and accounting where it's done on a base of guidelines, as it should, because this is dealing with money and you can get crooks and all this other stuff going on, and there isn't really that opportunity to be creative. I'm sure some of them will disagree with us, and there's ways that you can mutual funds and diversify and insurance and use this plan and whatnot. But I think a lot of those people actually get their creativity outside of work. Whether you're a musician on the side, or you paint, or you're a poet, or whatever it might be. But I think we're lucky because we had to actually integrate those two day to day, from our work to our business and everything in between. So we're very lucky, but at the same time too, like you say, I think that there's a lot of people that just think it's champagne and flowers and draping and all this, and they don't see those long hours and spreadsheets and project management systems behind the scenes, which can be interesting.
It's interesting because I think that, I don't know that there's an industry that isn't misunderstood. I think it's easy to look at your lawyer and be like, it must be nice to make $700 an hour, and you know, and I think that we're not all that much different. I don't know that if you're not in an industry, you fully understand what it is that they do.
It's true.
There's definitely a perception that still exists about our industry, maybe being a bit more fluffy and fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I resisted for a long time that when people say, "Oh, your job sounds like so much fun," and now I'm just like, yeah, it is fun.
Yeah.
What's your job? Your job not fun? Then you should go find a new job.
I agree.
It's fun amongst a lot of other things, but yeah, it is fun. I get to work with the most incredible people in the world. I get to do things that bring people together and create lasting memories. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, no, one of my icebreakers is people are always like, hey, what do you do for a living? And I go, I throw parties. And they go, no, like what do you do for work though? And I go, that's basically it. And you know, and you know, in certain cases, I don't try and sugarcoat it, but I think that's a fun way of kind of breaking the ice with certain people. So I can definitely relate. I love doing what I do, but I think that we can agree too that there's going to be times that suck. And I don't mean right now, because right now is a big suck, but you know, even day to day, month to month, year to year. So with that in mind, the opposite of my last question, what do you dislike about the industry, or what do you find hard, or what do you want to get out to people, or what do you find dark about the industry? Because obviously there's some negative sides to every industry, but what in particular do you find sort of that you dislike or find hard about the industry?
Well, I think maybe I'll talk about what I find hard about the industry. We're an industry full of a lot of, you know, there's this big conversation always going around about the low barrier of entry for our industry. And I think I have a bit of a different take on it, because I was fortunate enough to get into an industry with a low barrier of entry. That is why I'm here. I did not go to school to do this specifically. I took advantage of this opportunity, or the low barrier of entry to get here. But one of the things that I really dislike and want to see change is that if you're going to come into our industry, you need to support our industry. If you want to be a part of this, then you have to give back just as much as you're taking. We're a young industry that is still trying to establish ourselves. I wouldn't say we are respected as a profession. There's no doubt about that. But we are certainly still trying to get on the radar of our governments to recognize us as an important part of society. We are still trying to create some common language and common law around the way that we do our work, and I think that effort doesn't live with the industry as a whole. It's every individual person that's in it that needs to rise up to a higher level of professionalism, that needs to adhere to a basic level of standards in the way they operate their business. And that would be the thing that I think grinds my gears the most, is that if you're going to be here, then you have to respect this industry, and you have to respect what it is that we're all trying to push for. And I think any industry that has a high concentration of smaller micro businesses, I think you're gonna get this happening in it. So
I completely agree. I mean, you're in Calgary, which is a much bigger city than in Victoria, so you can imagine that even more of our businesses here are operating in these silos of 1, 2, 3-person companies from home. And it's really hard to connect. It's really hard to get together. I mean, we don't even have an ILEA chapter. Even the MPI is more a Vancouver-based one. So it's really difficult for us to get together. And you know, we've tried to do certain initiatives, but it just seems like it's hard to pull people out of that. And what happens then is you get this lack of information efficiency. People are trying to compete with each other, and they don't know each other, and undercutting. And, you know, like you say, anybody that can create a Facebook page now has a company in the events world. So, yeah, you know, I'm in the same boat as you. I think we both are trying to build our communities, and we'll all grow together. Brig Events is not going to grow in this city if we don't grow the whole thing. We need suppliers to work with us. We want to bring other event companies up as much as people might see them as competition. We want to educate. We can all build together. We're going to be slightly different anyways. We have different personalities, different strengths and weaknesses. So we're about the same things, building together. It's not going to be all about Brink events in the end in Victoria and OneWest events in the end in Calgary. I mean, let's hope you guys are around for a long time, and we are too, but it's got to be a group thing, you know, pulling together. So just personally for you, you know, it's a tricky time right now to necessarily do all the things you love, because we can't, but what are some of the hobbies and pastimes and things you like to do on weekends that really kind of get you out of that shell and make you feel good and kind of keep your life balanced?
For sure. Well, I'm fortunate enough to live in a part of the world that has access to the most beautiful mountains and the best hiking you could go on. So I definitely enjoy taking my dog up to the mountains and unplugging, kind of mentally, and getting rid of all the electronics and just go climb a mountain and try and stay alive. And so that is great. At this moment, it's not great because all the parks are closed. That's all right. I have my dog. I like to explore with him. I crush a lot of podcasts in a week. I listen to more books than I read now, just because it's much easier.
Yeah, it's easier to absorb, I find.
Yeah. I've been really intentionally not listening to as many business books lately, and trying to escape from the 24-hour business information that I'm constantly feeding myself. I take news breaks. This is a new thing for me, where I figured out where I'm getting my trusted information from, and that's the only thing I look at.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because that has been overwhelming. You know, life is a bit disrupted right now, and you know, kind of going back to one of the things I appreciate most about this industry. Life is disrupted, but I find myself every day connecting with people all around the world that are in this industry that have good and bad to share. But what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling most is a great amount of optimism, and you know, this is hard, and this is going to be hard for a lot of people. And there's a great opportunity in all of this, and there's an opportunity for us to take this minute to reevaluate, retool. Let's get into our businesses, all of those things that we said we were going to do that we just never get to. This is our time to do it. And what I don't want for myself and my business is I don't want this time to be wasted. And I want us to say, when we come out of this, what do we want to be? Where do we want to be stronger? Where do we want to be better? What other opportunities exist out there that we can now start to go after? So all of that just fills my day with a lot of positive energy. And
no, I like, one thing I keep saying is, you know, we're a social event company ourselves. Our niche is signature events, charity galas, corporate office parties, staff parties, holiday parties. What's happening right now is the exact opposite of our company. We bring people together. This is pulling people apart. Social distancing, isolation. So I'm so looking forward to that day when we can actually just bring people together. So touching on a couple points you just mentioned there. I've seen the photos of you with the dog and doing the hikes in the mountain. Beautiful stuff. And I'm always like, wow, we have a few mountains that are closer, but I think we got to go a little further out. I try and get out in nature as much as I can, get the beaches, the lakes, the trails. So completely agree with you on that. That's very therapeutic. In terms of podcasts, are there any in particular that you'd like to throw out there to people to really say, okay, this one really, you know, not changed my life, but, you know, has really helped me along the way?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to do a shameless plug because why not? I have a podcast every week. It's called The Event Brew, and I record it with Nick Borelli, Will Curran, and Tui Deep. And they're just three awesome people. We're all very different. And every week we talk about different things that are happening in the world of events. It has a R rating because I swear on it a lot. But that's fine. So that's out there. It's a really great one. I like to listen to some political ones. They're not all event ones. I love listening to Useful Idiots. It's put on by the Rolling Stones. It's such a good one. It's a lot about American politics, but it's still very good. Gather Geeks is a podcast by BizBash, which is really awesome. Meeting Minds with Charles Eade is awesome. And if you want like a personal pick, if you don't listen to My Favorite Murder, it is so good. If you're into true crime, it is so good.
My fiance listens to that, and I swear she's planning to kill me one day. So I'm a little bit Yeah, she probably is.
And she's gonna get away with it.
And she's gonna get away with it. I think that's why she watches CSI so much as well. She knows everything about forensics, and she watches Forensic Files and all that. I mean, I'm starting to get a little bit worried, but hopefully I'm still here in a year or two from now. So, and also
you will know who to talk to.
Yeah, and another random thought that came to mind while we were chatting there is I know you've got a giant warehouse. Are you taking any of this, like, are you going to come out of this with the most organized, documented, labeled warehouse in history? Or, are you guys already pretty organized in there? Or are you guys taking the time to do some of these projects and things to get ahead when you do get busy again?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm very grateful for my team that they keep a pretty tight ship.
Yeah.
We had some big capital projects planned, focused on our operations side, which we sidelined a little bit. So, no, I think this is a time for a bit more brain and a bit less brawn. So I'm happy to lock the warehouse up, and we'll get back down there when we get back down there. And so nothing specifically. It's it is also challenging because we can't bring our team together. We can't work together. So it's not we're not just social distancing outside of work. It's also in the workplace as well.
Yeah.
But no, we've been identifying some products that we have in our warehouse that could be useful. Alberta's put together it's like a wartime program called Bits and Pieces.
Yeah.
And you can list any product that you have that could be useful. So we actually just gone through there. We've listed a bunch of stuff that we have in our warehouse that we know could be useful, from crowd control to
you guys,
contemporary stuff.
Yeah, I've seen a lot around. Some of the tenting companies out here have been put to use for makeshift testing sites and stuff for the homeless and whatnot. So I've definitely seen some of that. But I'd imagine some of it, like acrylic pillars and beautiful vases, are not going to be needed for a lot of the wartime measures, probably.
Yeah, no, our inventory is a bit limited for the wartime stuff.
Yeah,
so we definitely have some stuff to offer, and the rule is if we can't hose it off later, we're not using it.
Yeah, that's probably about right. So, one of the questions, I've only got two more for you, but one of them I usually ask is an event that you're excited about that's coming up, that's a real big portfolio event. I mean, obviously that's tricky right now. So if you have one, let me know, like whether it's a year or two from now. But if not, what's an event that you've done maybe in the last year or two that's like one of your best ever portfolio? We got a great budget, we got to be super creative, and it is one of the ones that I put on a pedestal.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's canceled this year officially, or postponed. I should be careful, it's being recorded. But we work on the Banff Center, which is a creative arts school in Banff.
Yep.
And it is just one of the most magical places you could ever go to. They do everything from theater and costume design to all sorts of arts programs. The Life of Pi was written there in a little sailboat that's in the woods. Like there's so many amazing stories about this place and the artists that have gone through there. So we work on their big summer fundraiser. And it's such an incredible opportunity to partner with an organization that has access to truly once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Because they have so many artists that are in their residency, they put together a entertainment program that you literally could never put together. There's no other human being in the world that could bring together who they have access to. So it creates a real one-of-a-kind experience. We love telling the story of the Banff Center and its history. The Banff Center has been an amazing client of ours for a long time. They've got an incredible lineup of donors and supporters that come out every year for this weekend of nonstop events. So that's one that's really close to our hearts, mostly because it's in the arts, and it celebrates a lot of the same values that we celebrate. And also it's this beautiful opportunity to go work in the mountains and do something that's truly unique. I'm trying to rack my brain here. I was at the Engage Summit almost 2 years ago when they had that in Banff. Were you at that one, or? I didn't. I know. Okay, you know what I'm talking about though, right? It's a luxury wedding show. I mean, but and we don't even do weddings, but it's a lot of just around the food and beverage and decor. And so that was my first chance to really experience Banff for a few days, and
go to the Fairmont, which is like a castle in the mountains. It's like, it's out of a fairy tale or something.
Yeah.
We've got that little bar down below too, which is like crazy. That little pub at the bottom of the trail. So I don't know if you've ever been to that. It's like this whimsical thing in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, so I got a chance to see some of that too. It's just an amazing little town, even though it's small. It's you know, it's on a world scale. So I can only imagine that if they were able to bring together artists like that, that would be pretty amazing. And like you say, you just couldn't bring that together on a regular day.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with this. You know, just what do you want to tell people out there, whether it has to do with this pandemic or just about life or the events industry or whatever? Do you kind of have a mantra or something that you just like to tell people in general, or how they should live or what they should be doing? Just any sort of closing, parting thoughts.
For sure. Well, I think there's no escaping the tough time that we're in right now. I think it's more important than ever before for everyone to keep a tab on your mental health, to understand what symptoms of depression look like, what symptoms of anxiety look like. There's never been a better time for you to reach out to people that you know are going through a hard time. I think we're in this really unique position because so many of us are going through something right now.
Yeah.
This isn't an isolated incident where it's like, oh, this city's having a hard time with this, and the rest of the community can rally around them. So many people are in the same position, and I think that we need to be careful that we are staying mentally strong. We need to be careful that we're not drinking too much. There's been a lot of we've been glamorizing drinking at home a lot, and that kind of stuff does worry me for people. And I really hope that people stay on a good mindful schedule. Meditation is easy. You can find it on YouTube. It costs nothing. So find some good, healthy mental practices that are going to make sure that you are stronger when you get out of this than when you went into it, because this industry is going to need every single one of us to be on their A game to help pull us back to a place that we want to be and then beyond. We're in an incredible point in our industry where things are changing for the good for us, and the world of live experience and connectivity is becoming more and more important, and we need all the pros out there to be on their A game so that we continue to do the work that we do. Yeah, no, I'm probably see a little smirk on my face here because I'm just thinking about all the event planners, designers, and people just scheming right now. Everybody's coming up with plans and designs and idea. And like you say, I look forward to that day whenever it comes that we're able to get out, bring people together, and those plans all come together and these new ideas and this new inspiration and these new ways of bringing people together. So, I mean, that's what keeps me going, as I'm sure is the same for you. It's tough times, but we know there's light at the end of the tunnel, or whatever cliche you want to use. But there's going to be some amazing work coming out of this. And like you said, I think it's going to be better off for everybody overall in the end. So I want to thank you for joining us. I know you've got a call coming up here, as do I. So thank you again. I think people will get a lot out of this. And we're going to post your social media channels and your websites below this interview after this. And yeah, thanks for joining us. And I hope you stay safe and healthy. Yeah, you as well. Thanks for having us. Awesome. Thanks, Dustin.